Number one, we end at a strict 7:45, and number two, my casual attire tells you all that there's a very big game on at 7:30 that people are going to want to see. So we're going to go straight
And of course, that would be the Celtics.
Just watch the last quarter.
My dad always said that the last 7 minutes are all that's important in a basketball game.
So
Yes,
folks,
I
in
can
the
tell you
best
that
interest of
factually
time,
that's true.
we're going to begin because, as Michelle mentioned, we have to wrap it up at a certain time. On behalf of Michelle and myself, we'd like to welcome you to the Tricentennial Committee meeting. Here it is, Tuesday, May 9th, and a big thank you, Molly, for doing the minutes, as well as making sure that we take care of the agenda and to post things. A big welcome out there to the folks that may be watching on ECAT, Eastern Community Access Television. It's a chance for the community to jump in, hear what we're doing, and certainly come forward and let us know if you'd like to be involved in some way. I'm going to go around the room quickly. Just mention your name and what responsibility you have on behalf of the committee. I'll start with you, Molly.
Molly Amatangelo, Secretary of the Committee.
Michael Good, nothing yet, but I'm volunteering, so we'll see. I'll be expanding later today.
And hopefully we can decide that tonight.
Yep, exactly.
Ken?
Ken Michael, member of the committee. Just been requested to become the chair of the advisory committee. Go ahead.
Ed Hans, member of this committee.
And Dale Carister, a longtime resident of Easton, and along with Mr. Hands, also will be responsible for coordinating with a lot of the other community organizations in town.
I'm Jeanette Camara, and I'm the treasurer for the committee.
And Ed also has another major role on our committee, certainly as the vice president.
Oh yeah, that's
I'm
right.
Dave
Don't forget
Clifton.
that.
Happy to be co-chairing the committee as we plan and prepare for 2025. Michelle?
All right, so Dave is chairing this meeting tonight. We were going to start with our minutes.
And everybody should have received a copy of the minutes that Molly sent out. Does anyone have any questions? Anything you'd like to subtract or to add? And these are the minutes of April 11th. And of course, a lot of important stuff was discussed. I see or hear no one responding, so I assume that we're all in favor. Would someone like to make a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
So moved by Ed, seconded by Dale. All those in favor, raise your right hand.
Aye.
Opposed? Nobody's opposed. The motion is carried. Molly, as secretary, do you have anything to report?
No.
Did you want to talk about
Good
OneDrive,
report.
Molly?
Oh.
Did you want to talk about OneDrive?
Oh yeah, so I sent that email for a link to the OneDrive. Let me know if you have issues. If you
I
have
get a link for Dropbox.
Dropbox, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry too. Yeah, that's it.
I tried OneDrive. It's not gonna work.
Okay. And we can talk about that later, but just so you know what that is, that's going to be a central location for people to access documents where we will all be able to see and edit where necessary.
Yeah, just let me know if you guys can't see the subfolders, because I know I shared the parent folder, but I don't know.
I logged on today. I could see all
You
of
could
them.
have. Okay.
Great, that's great.
Perfect. Then
Let's
that-
jump over then to our treasurer. Anything that you'd like to report?
I did speak to the town accountant about how to handle money going forward. She gave me a couple of forms. If we get donations directly, I submit them to the treasurer's office. We do have the authority to approve expenses, and there's a form that we need to fill out if we want the town to pay it, or if a committee member pays it up front, then the committee member can also submit that form to get reimbursed. So it seems pretty straightforward. She asked me to keep my own set of books, just an Excel spreadsheet, and then every couple of months we'll, hook up and make sure everything's the same. Because because donations theoretically could go directly to the treasurer, bypassing us. I mean, it's possible, so we'll need to keep track of it, so.
Well, thank you for looking into that.
That's important stuff.
Do we need to, is the approval, do we have to get any additional approvals before actually approving particular expenses and working within a certain budget or certain monies that have already been allocated?
I
to
would
us?
think so.
It's a great question.
I mean, I can speak the way we do it for the Friends of Borderland, is we discuss it ahead of time, and somebody's either done the research to find out what it's gonna cost, or we do we'll approve up to a certain amount
There was a
before
town
the
administrator,
expense is incurred.
Connor Reed, suggested that our treasurer meet with the finance people at town hall and iron out those loopholes that you discussed. And I think that's important. The treasurer needs to know who you are as well, probably does know anyways. But the financial picture invoices, I think they should all come before the board, given back to the treasurer, and the treasurer submits them for town hall, for bills to be paid.
Dale does bring up another question that's interesting, and maybe we can get an answer to that, and is any of the money that we already have allocated for any particular thing?
She didn't mention it, but we did agree that the number that Nora had found out, last month was correct.
So maybe we can just ask, only
Okay.
because I know that the benefactor was somewhat specific sometimes
Right.
about those things, so we can just find that out.
Sure.
Let's do it and not wait till it's time to pay a bill and find out that we are using it for the wrong thing. So that's a good idea. If you're all set, Jeanette, we're gonna move on. Ask our co-chair, Michelle.
Yes, go right ahead.
That was the town accountant, you said?
Yep, the town
I
accountant
just want to make sure. And that
slash
was,
finance director. Her name's Wendy Nightingale.
Michelle, you have something you wanted to?
Yes, so we're going to move on to the co-chair reports, and since Dave was going to chair the rest of this meeting, I was going to go first. And there are four matters on my report, and they are, the first one is that Dave and I did discuss that we do think that we do need to meet more often. So there are several options for that. One that we came up with was to meet just the once a month until September and start meeting twice a month in September. Another variation on that would be to go ahead and start meeting twice a month starting next month, but for one of those meetings to be Zoom. And then either way, if we do decide to meet twice a month starting in September, do we want them to be 2 in person or 1 in person and 1 Zoom? So let's open up some discussion about that.
My preference would be not to have 2 in-person meetings per month. I think that's a bit much for folks. So I like the idea of 1 in person and 1 Zoom. And then from my perspective, it's just a question of whether it makes sense to start now leading into the summer doing twice a month, or maybe it makes more sense to wait until September for that, but I'm fine either way.
it's a lot of meeting minutes.
Yes, you need to approve this.
That's going to be difficult for 2, I think, meetings.
So maybe we can get a motion to at least, what was your first part there that we would,
One
that
in
it be,
person, one
yeah.
Zoom.
Can we maybe decide that? Or do we want to say that we want to even go to 2?
Well, it seemed like we do need to, as part of this, I think, address Molly's concern, and maybe that means finding somebody who could assist
An
with that,
assistant
because it is a
secretary
huge
is a great idea.
imposition to be doing all of that. So maybe before we commit to the twice a month, and maybe we kind of figure that over the course of the summer and see if we can find somebody who could help with that. So when we do need to go to 2, we've got some assistance on that.
Well, that's a great idea. That'll give us 3 months to meet in person like we normally were going to, and Molly already knows what those dates are, to spend those 3 months finding an assistant secretary, and then perhaps have Molly, just for consistency, to keep with the in-person meeting minutes, and we'll have a Zoom secretary, and you can certainly interchange in and out.
Did you
Yes.
mention, Molly, that Courtney might be interested?
Yeah, I think last meeting she mentioned she would, if I couldn't make it, but I don't know if she.
I think that probably it would be best to get an additional person if we can find one. I think all of us are going to have a lot on our plates. So, I think it's really nice, but I think that, sharing roles, this is going to get deeper and harder. So I don't think that, but certainly as an interim, but I think we should look into having an actual assistant secretary. Mike?
I have no problem, like, taking some of that
See?
on. I take
There you
notes,
go.
I just take notes just out of force of habit. and
Yes,
just when I'm sitting there,
yes.
So I have no problem, whether I publish them or send them along for review, for format, make sure it's in line with all the other formatting, but yeah, I can definitely help, like,
Okay.
offset that, yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
Terrific, thank you, Mike, for volunteering.
Are you saying you want to be the assistant?
Sure, yeah, sure.
If we decide down the road that we want to have a meeting, Jeanette has volunteered her boardroom at the Bank of Easton as a place that we can go and not be held to a time limit, which I think would be terrific, so
Other than
we'll
my
keep
bedtime.
that.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, you and me both, like 8 o'clock, it's time to go to sleep.
Snacks, yeah.
Dale, 8:30 is a little early.
So how do we
Well,
feel
I'm
about 2 meetings a month?
Starting in
Beginning in
fall?
September.
That was my next question. So how do we feel about 2 meetings a month?
So I like the idea of 2 meetings a month. I think if I had expressed a preference, I would say we start in September, because we're going to have a long haul and no point starting that marathon right now on that. And I think with the summer coming up, we don't want to be a burden on folks.
And I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think we can make a final decision on this, that second meeting will be Zoom.
Right.
All right, so if somebody wants to make a
And not only
motion to
that,
that
but
effect.
there's still, you want to leave the door open just in case something comes up and we need to meet once during the summer. We'll let the co-chairs talk that over and decide whether or not it's necessary. But I
Absolutely.
like the idea of stepping it up in the fall.
Just want to let you know that I have a conflict on the second Tuesday
Okay.
of every month, so maybe the first and third Tuesdays
We're doing
for our
the third.
meetings.
Oh,
No,
for the
fourth.
second meeting.
Yes, okay.
Good
Wednesday.
So we'll look at that for September, great point,
Yeah.
and we will definitely keep that in mind. So let's put forward a motion to go to 2 meetings a month, beginning in September. One of those meetings to be a Zoom meeting, date to be determined, and that we will be looking for an assistant secretary. Can we get a second?
Well, I think we already have a volunteer,
We have.
do we not? Do we need a?
Okay, all right, yes.
Search is over.
All right.
Exhaustive search.
So can we second
Nationwide.
that meeting motion? And
I'll second.
awesome. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Opposed?
Do you need a vote about Mike's appointment as well?
I don't
as
think
assistant
so.
secretary?
No,
We'll
it's
let
not official, so.
No, you got your excuse to slide on out.
All right, the second thing I wanted to report was that I did speak with Fire Chief Justin Alexander today, and we, wanted to find out if fireworks were even doable in this town before we start down that path, and they absolutely 100% are. It is a lot of permits, and it is a lot of site visits. It's, big safety issue, but it absolutely can be done, and he is 100% willing to work with us on that. So,
Can I
Yes.
ask a question about that? I don't know how far into the conversation you got
Yep.
with that, but.
knowing me very far, but go ahead.
So I know that the last meeting we were talking about up here, but then I'm thinking about the logistics of that in a neighborhood. So did they already kind of give you some suggestions of where?
He absolutely did. So first of all, he suggested that we do these fireworks in September. That was his suggestion as far as, cost to the town because of the 4th of July, other things that go on during the 4th of July. Some of this was his opinion that, people are back in town in September, but also, the dryness of, because the other thing I did propose that we could do was we could do them on New Year's Eve, just throwing out some different things. And so he had suggested September. And as far as location, Ed and I spoke earlier today, and Ed had mentioned that there were fireworks in the town of Easton at the turn of the century, and they were...
At the last century.
I'm sorry, yes. a mere, 20 years ago. And they were over Shovel Shop Pond, which is attached to the Ames Estate. So if you're familiar with the Lions Club's fishing derby, that is the pond that we're talking about. So it's over by the Children's Museum.
It's directly across from the Historical Society Railroad Station.
That's correct, yes. So it was that pond that he suggested. He said that borderland is certainly an option, but we will have to involve the state if that is the case.
Yeah.
So you know that you cannot have them at borderland without involving the state of Massachusetts. He was open to discussing other fields and other areas. He also, you know, there is a concern over at Shovel Shop, and that is that the fireworks have to be set up in a location that is clearly away from the crowd. And so if we had people on that lawn, there is a piece on the other side of the pond, I believe that's Pine Street, I'm not sure.
Pond Street.
Pond Street. But that's very close to people's homes on that street. So this is all something that we can discuss with Chief Alexander later, but this is where his thought process.
What's the parking scenario?
I was just gonna
Didn't
say
talk
the-
about that.
The parking, I
Not
think
good.
would be great.
The part,
Terrible.
there is a concern in general about parking at any of our events. And so perhaps at some point we are going to have to talk about a shuttle. So I know the Lions in the past for the holiday festival have used the schools. And if this happens, you know, on a weekend, the schools would be closed, lots of parking up there, and we have shuttles. The Lions Club has done this for the holiday festival. They have shuttled people from, we have a parking issue, I think, in this town, you know, downtown.
For downtown, the
Or-
Historical Society at the railroad station has a very large parking lot.
That's
and
right,
used.
yes.
And 50 Oliver Street has a
50
large
Oliver
parking
Street.
lot.
That's
And the
correct.
YMCA has a large
That's
parking
right,
space.
that's
And
right.
and there's a city or town, town parking lot
Right.
Yeah.
right
So,
on the opposite, parallel to.
Should
Pond
work,
Street.
right?
yeah.
Yep.
So right in that whole general area, you've got a significant amount of parking. Obviously, you have to get permission, but there's a significant amount of parking area there. And the estate has a small parking lot directly across from 50 Oliver Street.
Excellent. So actually, it sounds like none of that would need shuttling at all.
No.
Of course, you know, another part of this is an Easton event. We'd love anyone who can walk to it, you know, to walk to it. So we can discuss those logistics later, but there was concern about parking at Borderland as well.
And I think we'll need to get the permission from NRT, because I think that is an NRT property, right?
Right.
What?
Yep.
Which,
Is it not?
No.
no.
Okay.
It's a trustees of reservation.
Oh, trustees, that's right.
Trustees of
Okay.
reservation.
Okay.
And they
And
did,
actually, the pond is ours. We own the pond.
okay.
I'm hoping that we can have an additional meeting with the fire chief, just to go over some safety
We'll have to.
regulations,
Yes.
yeah.
Yep.
I used to live in a town, it was a lake town, so the pond is significantly smaller, but what we did was there was a barge for fireworks, and so maybe that would.
Yep. Something like that. Maybe they are set off actually on the
Yeah.
water.
Sure.
Ed mentioned that back at the turn of the last century, there were fireboats. There's some possibilities here.
The fireworks in Boston for the 4th of July are in the Charles.
Right.
Yeah, they're on the Charles Street. Same thing on the Cape and Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah, I grew up in
Yeah,
Weymouth,
and-
and they set them off over
Yep.
West Augusta Beach.
And even Sharon, they shoot them off over Lake Basketball.
Yeah, yeah.
But
much
we
bigger,
have,
much bigger piece of.
The town has a swimming beach area. Is that a possibility on a barge?
No, that's
Not
not
enough here?
it's not a
Parking?
beach.
Yeah.
It's a town pool.
It's a town pool off of Lincoln Street.
Right,
It's
yeah.
not big enough.
Yeah,
It's not, it
Yeah.
wouldn't be.
and
very-
it's man-made and not a
I
possibility.
think we're gonna have to lean on the fire chief for some safe spots that we can actually do it.
Just get some drones.
And even though it's
There you go.
an Eastern event, when people hear about fireworks, they show up from everywhere.
That's a really
Yeah.
good point.
Yeah.
Especially if they're not competing with other
Right,
fireworks
right.
on a 4th of July weekend.
Molly's just suggested, well, let's get a few drones. And that's a brilliant idea.
Probably
If
expensive.
if we run into trouble with fireworks, There's been several displays of mass drones in all different shapes and changing colors and all of that sort of stuff.
That's
I thought you were going to
wonderful.
refer to the drones going into the Kremlin and getting some fireworks.
That can happen.
Yeah, we could do that to the town hall.
Don't give anybody any ideas.
That means we need long distance.
No, I was
drones.
going to ask Dawn, I know you've had some communication with Alex.
Yes.
About him being involved.
Well,
Is
let's finish our committee report and then we'll move on to that. So the next thing we were going to talk about was committee meeting protocols. So Dave and I spoke today about the different committees. I know the fundraising committee has already met. We feel that, you know, the more we reach out to the community and this committee, the better. So if we are going to have committee meetings, we are going to ask that they be posted and shared at least with this committee. So from now on, if you're going to have a community committee meeting or an advisory committee meeting or a marketing communication or fundraising committee meeting, that will need to be posted, open to the public, and open to all these members. And the reason that we're doing that is because if there are 5 of us at any one of these meetings, it has to be posted.
Yeah, I would counsel for some flexibility in this. So by way of example, if Ed and I are a committee of 2,
Yes.
I don't think we want to prevent Ed and I from talking about the
You
moving ball
don't,
forward.
and you don't have to.
Right, okay,
But if you, I would like for you to send out the invitation to this committee. And the possibility, you can do it however you want. You can take an RSVP and wait to post until you know, but if there's 5 of us there, you have to post it.
No, that I understand, but again, I'm just sort of thinking about actually practicalities, moving the ball forward on things. You've set up so many procedures on things, it's going to prevent practically from moving forward on, especially if
Yes.
it's 2 or 3 people just trying to talk about.
And you can do
Well, we
that
did.
for sure, but
Right.
if you hold a committee meeting, that would be you 2 speaking, and if it's under 5,
Yeah.
you can do that.
Particularly for our committee, I mean, part of this is going to be going to a business or a
Yes.
community organization and saying, hey, would you like to do this? And I've been doing that informally, and you know, several people have been interested in doing at least part of a thing, but I haven't posted anything.
And that's okay. I'm thinking more along the lines of, I saw the list of people on the fundraising committee. It's a large committee. And I think that everyone on this committee will have an interest in the fundraising. No offense. No, but like, I'm not sure that everybody is going to have it. You know, our community organizations. So, but if you're thinking that your committee is in need of more people, the way to do that is to make sure that we share it with the public. So something like the advisory committee is probably going to be a lot of townspeople on that. Something like the marketing communications committee is probably not going to need to post.
What is the overlay between the advisory function and the community liaison function?
That's a really good question, and I think it's something we'll definitely have to define. But I was thinking that the community organization that's yours is established organizations in town, and the advisory committee is more the historical society. So, for example, you'll be dealing with organizations that already run events. Like we discussed today, Ed, like the NRT has a
We didn't
harvest.
post our telephone meeting, by the way, just to let you know.
Oh, we're in trouble already, Ed. I can see lots of problems going forward here.
Don't even start. So you know, you would be, your first function, I think, will be to find these things that are already happening in our town. This would be more, I think, about, for example, when I did speak to the chief today, he ran a very large bonfire in the last town that he was the chief of. During the holiday festival a couple of years ago, he had approached us and said, what about a bonfire? That's when I was the chair of the committee. I was tapped out of ideas at that point and said, let's talk about it at another time. So one of the things that I suggested to him today was that if the fire department would like to participate in the Tricentennial year, perhaps they could have a bonfire that is sponsored or put on by the fire department. We will certainly help with get funding for it or with volunteers and such, but it's not our bailiwick. That's something they want to do. And that's what I was
Perfect.
thinking that the advisory council would be a part of. And then there's one more piece of this that we haven't filled the role for, and that is we need a business liaison. So for example, I asked Hilliard's if they would like to perhaps make a mold for the entire year of 2025 that we approve of, whether it's our logo or a 300 or the seal of Easton, where we're only going to sell it in the year of 2025, and then they either break the mold or they put it in the time capsule. I was going to approach Shoveltown Brewery, see if they would do a Tricentennial brew, and we need a business liaison. So I am picturing that your committee is community organizations.
Right.
The advisory committee is, does the select board want to have a presence here? Does the fire department? A little different from community organizations. And then we have a business piece that works with, one of the ideas Ed and I had spoken about was like maybe each month, so maybe for the whole year Shoveltown could offer that Tricentennial brew. But maybe each month, perhaps the farmer's daughter in January would like to do a Tricentennial Benedict, just for the month of January. Maybe in the month of February, McGuire's would like to do a Tricentennial burger, just for the month. And that's sort of a whole different committee. Yeah, Ed.
Just to get it on the record, when I came back to town in 1997, the high school was still doing a bonfire for homecoming. Well, homecoming is a nice possible Tricentennial event.
Yes.
Let's get the school department and the fire department together and let them take that.
Good.
Love it.
Yeah, that was on my timeline.
I'd just like to add something to what Michelle said. I see the advisory committee being the event chairs for all the different events, whether it's the fire department doing the bonfire or other groups that are going to be on our list of activities that are taking place. And that would be what your role would be if we make that decision tonight, Ken. That's really what I saw of the advisory committee, being people who would come to our meetings with Ken and give us a report of how their planning is going for the event that they're running.
Yeah, the concern there again is that, with the community liaisons, we're going to be connecting with community organizations, putting on events and having them do things as part of a Tricentennial event. So again, we'll have to kind of coordinate on this. But
Because from the sounds of the description, there's a lot of overlap.
right.
And there's certainly a lot of overlap in this committee. Marketing communications is going to have to be a part of every single one of these committees. Our treasurer's committee is going to have to be a part. You're going to be promoting all of this stuff. So, there's a lot of overlap of these 10 people, which is why I caution you not to take on too many roles. Let's get some of those people out there
Yes, I know.
in here, helping us out and taking on some of this stuff. So we're still on co-chair report, and it's almost 7. My last thing is that we are all of our terms expire on June 30th, I believe. I am hoping that you are all signing back on, but you do need to appear at a select board meeting, and you do need to re-sign on. And it is our plan to attend the June 5th select board meeting, and would love to have you all come to
I think they
that.
sent an email out
Yeah.
recently.
There is an application
I got
form
it.
that you should fill out and send it.
Do we have to
You can.
redo the sort of conflicts training module or whatever? or
I
is
think
it-
you might have to do that yearly anyway. I'm not sure about the ethics part,
You
but
wait until they tell you to do it.
yeah, we can.
Well, that's what I did the first time.
I don't think you have to do it
waited.
every year.
So
I
I
think it's
have
every
a
other
question
year.
about that. So
Yes.
it launched out to a link, the website, it was on my phone, so the website's always a little wonky, but it just looked like a form, you fill out your name and
Yes.
whatever. But then you're saying in addition to that, I have to go to a select
I-
board meeting?
You know, I'm not sure. I know.
I had to go to one.
I did too.
I don't think you actually have to.
No,
I don't think you have to go.
Okay.
I think you do. You do have to go and sign something like in the clerk's
Yeah,
office.
that's
Okay.
Yeah, I
to
already
be
did, yeah.
sworn in.
Yeah, I think that. I
You'll
don't
need
think you
be
actually have
sworn in
to.
again,
Okay.
yeah.
I don't think
so
you
I
have to
guess
attend
you
the
don't
board
have
meeting.
to attend.
I was only freaking out because I'm going that week, I'm going to.
And
Houston
don't
for
freak
work.
out. You can, if you want to attend a select board meeting, it can be anyone.
Oh,
Like
okay,
if
all
you
right.
want to.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
I
I
say
think I
freak
got
out.
an email saying I had to go to this.
You know,
Oh, because it was.
That's why
say don't.
he's this
My
kind of
position,
chair
I
and I'm
applied
this
for
kind
the
of chair.
test.
Oh, was it? Okay.
And that wraps
That's
my
probably why I don't
co-chair
think I
report,
answered.
so I'll move to Dave, who is gonna report on the DPW.
Well, before you do that.
Well, I'm gonna-
Yes,
I
oh, I'm
have a-
sorry, I
have a
should have
question,
asked. Are
please.
there any questions?
I do have one.
Yes.
All right, so since this is my second meeting, I have not filled out any documentation of any kind. So I think what I'm hearing is that I have to fill out something that I
So,
should download, so if
That-
somebody just let me know what I need to.
well, there's only 10 members of the committee, and it's full. So I don't think you need to do that, Ken. I think that you would be
Okay,
considered to be.
so I can be
A
anonymous?
volunteer.
Yeah, yeah. But
Thank you.
certainly if an opening comes up on this committee, I would hope that you would join. But, you know, I'm hoping everybody does re-sign on, so.
And even though, Ken, you may be a non-voting member, you're an important member if you're gonna involve yourself in
My
the.
feelings are,
Advisory.
you're making me feel
I will
that.
get you more apples, more
It's a
apples.
validation here.
We have a select board member appointed by the select board, a non-voting member, but he's the liaison between the select board and our committee.
I'm fine.
Now, I have a bunch of things I'd like to run through. I did some homework, but I did want to mention, first of all, that both Michelle and I met with the DPW director, and we talked about kind of pursuing his involvement by a sense of cooperation. There are going to be things coming up that we're going to need DPW to help us with, whether it's picking up stuff after the fireworks display, putting up signs for events that we may have, or parades or whatever. He has given us his full cooperation, but he did bring something to our attention. Those banners we're talking about downtown Main Street, they're too big to be hung on the light poles. The only way that we could hang banners would to be on the utility poles on the opposite side of the street, and we'd have to get their permission in order to do that.
No, we would have to get the permission of Verizon
The
and.
utilities.
That's what I'm talking
National
about.
Grid. Oh, okay.
I'm talking about the same thing.
Yep.
The utility pole companies
Oh, yeah.
would be the ones that we'd have to deal with. So we could look into that, and I know that we're all interested. I did talk with the town administrator, Connor Reed. He strongly recommended that we have our own webpage, that we not use the town's. He said there's so many things on it right now that you're going to have a lot of things you want to put on your own. So I wanted to bring that to your attention.
Speaking of which, is the town supportive of that? In other words, yeah, I don't know how they go about getting everything onto their website, but can we expect any support from somebody over there to help us build this
Yes.
and maintain it?
Yes, they are willing for us to have a web page on their page. They're saying like it would be better for us if we had our own and they.
No, but this is a separate issue, which will they help us, even if it's a separate web page, but whoever does this for the town, will they help us since we are a town committee?
Oh, I don't know about
Just-
that.
We need the help, right? I mean,
I don't know that answer, but I think a sense of cooperation would be important. I think we'll deal with the town, and we'll try to get them involved in helping us, because this is a town event. We are a town committee.
Yeah, whoever is putting theirs together, hopefully will be available to help us with ours.
I think, yeah, it's a great question, and I think we're probably going to end up needing a volunteer for that. I was thinking of reaching out to Matt. to see if he might volunteer.
Matt Chaffee?
Matt Chaffee,
Oh, he
yes.
would be awesome.
I haven't called him yet. If you're tuning in, but yeah, that I think that he, so you know, it's really nice to be able to have our committee of 10, but it's going to be really nice to have people like Ken and Matt. And
John Tracy might be another. I think
That's
he's
another
been
great-
helping out with the Lions website.
I know he's watching now. So yeah, so that's great.
The next item I had was a couple of appointments to our committee responsibilities. Mike Good has agreed to get involved in marketing and communications, and we appreciate the fact that he was willing to come forward to do that. I think we ought to have an official vote,
Absolutely.
make that happen right now so we can move forward. Would someone like to make a motion to appoint Mike Good as the chair of Saved by the Bell?
I love the choice of music too.
Chair,
Hello, Lawrence Welk going on here or what?
Couple.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Chair of the Marketing Communication Committee.
and Communications.
So moved.
Second?
Dale made the motion, Ed seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, Mike, congratulations.
And unlike the assistant secretary position, you cannot slide out of this one. You can vote it in. It's official.
And the second one was the advisory committee. We're looking for a chair. Doesn't necessarily have to be a member of our board, but certainly we have someone that's interested. And it's the same salary that you got last year for the other committees. I forget the last name,
Michael.
but yeah.
I will make a motion to appoint Ken Michael as the chair of the advisory committee.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. You got that, Molly? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. So we got two new appointees. Let's move on the agenda. We were going to have committee reports.
Before that, we were going to introduce our guest, if he was
He's not
able
here.
to make it.
Yeah.
Did you want to ask
Yeah.
him if he wants to speak to it?
Ed, do you want to tell the rest of the committee
Yes.
the good news?
A couple of weeks back now, I was approached by one of the members of the Nolan family, who is related to, it's typical Eastern story, members of the Freitas family. And Alex Pires wanted to make a contribution to our program, like Lee did. And he was very interested in paying for the fireworks program. That's something he does annually in his hometown. And he knows the big fireworks people that I think that are the folks that do the Esplanade concert. And he was hoping to make this meeting. He's a lawyer and half a dozen other things. So I'm sure.
Like Mike.
Yeah.
Like Dale.
So his.
They're everywhere.
Yeah. So his schedule didn't apparently allow him to get here. I didn't hear anything from him. But he would like us to come up with at least a ballpark budget of how much things are going to cost. And he might be able to donate more.
That's
I don't
awesome.
know if you got my email, Ed, but
His name is Alex.
from my involvement in other towns, it was about 17.
Yeah, he's
20,000.
fine with that. That's not a problem. It's,
It wouldn't be a $250,000 one like they do in Boston or other places, but this would be kind of a little simple, less expensive. And what a terrific donation.
yeah.
Yeah, that is. That's awesome. That's great.
If we had a sponsor for every event we have, we've got it made.
Well, we're off to a good start, right?
Yeah,
That's right.
this is terrific. So do we want to invite him to a meeting, Ed?
Yes, I would.
To thank him and
yes.
to let him know what our plans are.
And I have his email address, so I'd be happy to share that with you guys, and we could formally
One
ask
of the
him.
things that I heard that he did he had a class reunion over at Memorial Hall,
Yes, he did.
On Thanksgiving, he does that every year.
and he ran the whole
This was
event.
his event.
Wow.
Yeah, last year when he did it.
Yeah,
That
he
might
did
be
that
something
too.
we might want to think about at Memorial Hall doing
That was
something.
150. This one
Yes,
was
absolutely.
anybody who graduated from
From the-
OA
That's right.
from the 60s.
So why don't we move on, and Ed, you bring him to the next meeting and we can thank him and
I will do my
have
best.
a better idea. I did mention to you that, of course, the fire chief and the department
Mhm.
would be involved in this, in terms of where we go. Committee reports, I know our fundraising chair is not here tonight. Did you have anything you wanted to mention, or you all set?
No, I'm all set.
Next item on the agenda,
Your fundraising, and Courtney did send her regards and say that she
Yeah.
didn't have a report tonight. Marketing communications can't have a report
Nothing to
tonight.
report.
That's since 5 minutes ago.
No,
What about
no new
the-
developments.
I have
The
no-
community
I have no
committee,
reports.
do you have
Vote to-
anything you
I think we
want
can vote
to
to
talk about
eliminate it.
tonight?
I won't be surfacing until after the celebration,
I
but since I have
understand,
not
I
done it, nothing to
understand.
report at this point.
And advisory is brand new,
That's
so
a
I
good
don't
start,
think we
yeah.
really have any committee reports. So we can move on to the logo
logo
contest.
contest discussion.
So, I sent out some massive amounts of emails about that, right? I see Ken like, what? Does anybody
I got so
have,
many emails that they called me and told me they were gonna,
suspend your account? Yeah, that happens to my mom all the time too. So, I'm trying to pull it up here, but,
while you're looking that up, I did want to mention that
I didn't get
a while back, I think it was the March meeting, that we as a committee had decided that 7 of us, that the logo would be the clock. And then we also decided that we needed to make changes in the clock. And the last clock that I received from Michelle was a terrific clock. It only had branches behind it. I have a picture of it to show you. And I eliminated all the branches. But I wanted Michelle to talk about the contest that she would like
I
to
printed
do.
it, Michelle, if you want.
oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Okay, so I think one of the things I'd like for us to do tonight is decide whether or not this is going to be a contest or not. So, I mean, we don't even have to go down the contest route if we decide that that's not the way that we're going to handle this. I'll give a brief rundown. The idea was to put this out to the public and to have anyone who wants to participate in submitting a logo for our logo be in a contest. When I sent out this report, I had said to you that everything that's in yellow was like my suggestion. So, my idea, and I wanted everyone to kind of come back with their ideas as well. Because there's certainly other options for this. We can just pick a logo. We can just pick an artist to do a logo for us, and maybe they could submit 3 or 4. So what are our thoughts on how we want this logo to happen? Do we want a contest? And we can talk about the logistics of the contest, like, well, who will pick it? We can talk about that if we decide to do a contest, or how will they apply? We can talk, but do we want to do a contest that we open it up to people? Do we want to pick someone to ask for several designs? Or do we want to do this logo ourselves?
So I have a question, which
Yes.
is just sort of what a contest might look like. I understand some of the things will have to be decided later, but in order to help
Okay.
us decide whether we should have a contest or not, would we be considering that we're providing certain parameters
Yes.
for it needs to incorporate a clock, it needs to do X, Y, and Z, and then we're putting it out there. It's a way, I presume, also to get some PR out there about what we're doing, right,
Exactly.
early. And then folks would make submissions, And the idea that we as sort of executive committee would then review those submissions and pick something. It's not like based on popular vote.
So I'm really glad that you asked, because I did send this out, but not everybody has a chance to read all this stuff. So I'm going to give a brief rundown of what my idea was, and you can add, subtract, or just cancel it out. The idea was that it would be open to all Easton residents or anyone who was born in Easton. So if there's somebody in Colorado that this is their hometown and they want a chance to participate, that they would. That the rules would be that you would have to be 21 or over to enter. This, again, these are just my ideas, okay? And that there would be an entry fee, and it would be $25 entry fee. That participants may only submit one entry. That they would have to fall into line with whatever it is. If we need a JPEG, a PNG, whatever it is, we would spell that out, what we would need. That the logo should not have the name of the artist on it. That was just something that I thought of. That the logo should be built around the Tricentennial of Easton, which was incorporated in 1725 and is celebrated in 2025. That it should include the clock on Main Street, the number 300 somewhere on it, and the dates somewhere on it. That they would have to provide their email, their phone number, whatever it is that we need from them. That each entry can have multiple creators. So if you want to submit your entry and it's me and you, that's okay too. That it would be, this was another thought, that participants that were under age 21 were also eligible to enter at no fee. So it would be a fee if you were 21 or older, and it would be no fee if you were under 21. That there would be a good description of how to enter this contest, where to send your $25, where to send your submission, a form to go along with that. There would be general rules that would go along with that are general rules for any logo contest, that you cannot plagiarize, that this would become the property of the town of Easton, that the creator would no longer have any rights to that. There was other parts of it that these were things I made up as well. That the deadline of the submission would be June 30th. How it would be judged is open. We could decide whether or not we put all of these things on a poll online and anybody on the internet gets to vote, or we put them out and we make a decision. That is something that we would have to decide if we were to do a contest, but we would have to clearly let the participants know how they were going to be judged. And we'd have to come up with a criteria, like are we doing it on creativity, originality, design, all of the above. So we'd have to spell that out. That the timeline of the contest, which can be anything, but I thought would start on June 1st and end on June 30th. It's just a matter of getting your submission in that month. But of course we would have to promote that immediately, or this can be September 30th, whatever it is that we decide. That the winner would be announced on September 1st, again, open to interpretation. That the prize would be that the winning entry would receive $250. So the entrance fee, if we have 10 people entered, pays for itself, and then maybe money goes into our treasury. That they would receive recognition for their design, and that all entries will be shared on the website, that so that everybody gets some credit for their work. That every single registrant would receive a certificate of recognition in case they need that for a teacher down the line or something. Perhaps we can give every participant a t-shirt with the logo when it finally gets decided. Specifications on how we would let them be notified, that we would let them know ahead of time. It wouldn't be like a great big surprise to them that, if they wanted, if we were going to do an announcement of this. But Dale brought up a really good point. One of the reasons that I am proposing a contest in the first place is to start some buzz around this and to get some community involvement. I'm not tied to a contest. I have no problem if you want to scribble down on a piece of paper and tonight we make a decision. It's an idea, and that's
I actually like the idea. I wasn't initially sort of enamored of it, but I do like the idea of helping to get the word out there and get the community involved and invested in this. Clearly, we're going to have somebody who's going to take the lead and move it forward in a relatively short time frame. Is that a marketing?
We have a brand new marketing guy. Who's
But
like fresh.
so a couple of questions. First, what would be the thinking behind charging a fee for it? Sometimes it makes people a little serious about it.
Yes.
Second, perhaps consistent with the fears that our founders of the Constitution had about the House of Representatives. It's like when you put something out there, if it's just a pure popular vote, it may not take into account some of the factors that we need to take into account. So, maybe some blending of that where you have
Yes.
the top 4 or 5 or something like that.
So I would suggest, if we decide to do a logo contest, that we put this under the marketing communication chairs, and that he or she or whatever has some subcommittee meetings where anybody who's interested in the process of coming up with the details of this contest, go to his meetings. And at the next meeting that we have in June, you come with a proposal. If we decide to have a contest, you come with a proposal in June for the details of that contest.
Which she's already given you.
Just ideas, really. Because honestly, those ideas that I just gave you, you can't use, because if you're going to propose in June, you can't have a deadline of June 30th.
Right.
So what I was saying was really just suggestions.
Good, just change the date.
Yeah.
Be good to go.
Could I speak to the
Yes,
issue
please.
of charging people? We have a bundle of money, $250 is chump change. I think the big benefit of this contest, which I think is a good idea,
Yes.
is to get people involved.
So I would say that would be something that I would ask you to come up when you do make a proposal to us, that you have a couple of different options to give us.
Sure.
Maybe one is free, maybe one is, I think, a very low, maybe it's $10. I do think that one of the things that we would like to do is not have 3,000 of these to choose from. So that was just an idea to keep this manageable for us and to get a logo out there.
Right.
Because one of the things that the DPW did say to us when we met with them is, please share with us what your logo is. We would love to put them on the trucks for the whole year of 2025. So I do think there's some immediacy to us getting a logo. I don't think it has to be June 30th.
So I have a couple questions.
Yes.
So time is of the essence, I understand that. So I guess I was looking to reverse engineer, like when is the deadline? So everyone's just saying soon, so.
There isn't one. We don't have to have a logo till 2025.
No, but I'm saying, I think, I would put it out there that we should, by this fall, have our act together, so September, October, like that at the latest, right?
Yeah, and I think there's some desirability of appealing to the school setting as
So
well.
that was what
So
I
sort of
was saying.
September thing to me seems to make some sense rather than doing during the lull of summer. I guess what I would ask also is before Mike puts in additional time and effort on it, is everybody generally in agreement that this concept makes sense?
That's correct. We would need a motion that this was the way we were going to go, but we also have on the table hiring someone to present us with several logos that we choose from, or coming up with a logo ourselves.
So either direction you go, contest or an artist that volunteers or we select, is there any submission, is there any town oversight where they say we don't like the logo, we don't want that?
I imagine we should ask about that, so
Is that like Mark Lamb question?
I will ask Mark Lamb
Yeah.
that question, yes. What would be the approval from the town of
Yeah.
Easton,
Do they
right?
need to be involved?
Right.
The
That's a
concern-
great question, so we'll
If
ask
the-
Mark that
If
question.
the logo is gonna go on any town vehicles or any
They're
town
gonna be
sites,
involved,
they're
yeah.
gonna be involved.
Mhm.
Because then I was thinking like about, because part of the timeline and what we were talking about was the homecoming and the bonfire, and then I was also thinking about like that calendar year, the sports teams having a decal that they can put on their uniforms.
yes,
Yeah,
that's
so then
wonderful,
so that rolls
yeah.
into that. If you open it to the students, like the water department used to do with their logo,
Yes, yes,
then you are going to get 3,000
yes.
submissions that you have to filter through. So I don't know.
We're not talking about Rembrandt here. Going through 3,000 of them is not going to be that hard.
Okay.
And the other issue is you've put a lot of constraints on what you want in your logo.
No, I, those
No, no,
are-
no, no, no,
Oh,
no.
sorry.
I think it's a good thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree with
But
that
that
too.
would be
So-
something that would come from Mike's committee.
Yeah.
Those were suggestions.
But we've all kind of,
Right.
Yeah, those are
We
all
want the
things we
font,
want in the
right?
logo.
That's-
So,
Yeah.
you know, you're not necessarily going to get, you know, the cow jumps over the moon with the clock in the, you know.
there's some, yes, there's
Yeah,
some.
so- And then
There are
I
guidelines
think
and
your, I
criteria.
think your
So
idea
you gotta work with the
of
criteria.
winnowing it down to 5, running those 5 by your board of selectmen,
Yes.
and then
And then maybe even public vote. We could
Yeah.
tier this out, Ed. That's
Yes.
a great idea. That's a great idea. Where this committee takes however many come in and brings it down to a number that is approved of by the town, and then either put back to this committee for vote, put to the town for vote, or maybe we choose an honorary logo chooser, and that person looks at the 5. That
somebody
would be
who's
you.
moving out of town.
I was gonna say that would be. I mean, maybe we pick somebody at the art co-op, or you know, I mean, Carolyn Cole would have been a wonderful choice.
Well,
too.
why don't we pass the buck to the what is it, the council for the shovel shop?
Shoveltown Cultural
You're talking about the
District.
cultural district.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let
that's
them
a
make the
great
decision.
idea.
Yeah.
Yes. So, does anyone want to make any motions here?
Well, I
Can
can't
we
make a
make a
motion, but
motion?
no, I can't, because I'm not a voting member of the committee. But I can say this.
Yes.
I have worked on local projects before, and I don't think we should minimize the amount of work that's going to have to go into this. And because when we're talking timeframes, you have to be realistic about the amount of time you're going to need here, especially since, as we've just discussed, you're going to have to go through some town body. We don't know exactly what it is yet. And I think you really have to have your criteria narrowed and tight.
Okay.
And I think, as everybody has been saying here, and I agree with it because I was reading this all this afternoon, and I thought to myself, you could have 3,000 entries here, and it's going to take a lot of time to go through. Yeah, you can throw away, as Ed said, the cow jumping over the clock or whatever the case may be, but it's still going to take an awful lot of time to do this. So I think we need to be realistic about the time frame if you're going to have the contest, and that's up to you guys.
And
Yeah, it's time. I've done a lot of essay contests,
Sure.
and I would suggest you don't want to waste committee time going through this. You appoint a subcommittee.
oh
Exactly.
yes,
To-
yes.
to
I just
go
have
through.
something to add that might help.
Mhm.
Whatever we do, we're gonna need to have some sort of graphic designer give us some real clear parameters, because we need print, we need decal, like, it
Yep.
needs to be.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good,
put on
good
hats,
idea.
t-shirts,
I've
Yeah.
done that.
Yeah,
stickers,
and
all that. Yeah.
I know just from working with my website, I have 15 different,
Yes.
and then the clear background versus the,
Sure.
or whatever, I don't even know. All
So
those internet things.
we have 2 sign
Yes.
companies in town that you might want to consult with. Signs by Tomorrow, and then around the corner there's IDS or something like that.
Mhm.
And they're both quality things. And there's a couple of print shops in Brockton, so if you need some technical advice. We're also going to need parameters on the size of the submission.
You can also, just to add something to what you said, Ed, the Southeast Regional Vocational Technical High School,
Mm-hmm.
they have some expertise there.
Mm-hmm.
They made all the signs for me in another town,
Yeah, that's a good idea
Yeah.
too.
and they would probably do it free.
Yeah.
Yep.
As a donation. I'd like to mention something too about the contest. I think it's a terrific idea to get as many people involved in the community as possible. That's a good thing. My concern is time. I know it was mentioned that you can wait till 2025 before you have a logo. You want to get that logo as early as you can so you can promote the celebration. So I think that logo is important to go on signs. It's going to go on banners, whatever we decide down the road.
Toward that end, would it make sense to target having this ready by January 1, 2024? So that gives
Yes,
us a full
because
year.
you want to preview it
Yes.
before
In the
2025.
meantime,
You haven't-
Right.
right photos.
So
And
the
that
idea of
gives-
having it
and that
done,
gives-
but
But that gives you enough time,
right.
roughly 6 months, to get it done. And
Yep.
Yes.
That's
So
what you
in
need.
the interest of time, shall we make some kind of a motion on whether or not we're gonna have a contest, and then kind of kick this to our marketing person to hold these detailed meetings about the size of the file and
Everything.
the parameters of the contest and the time frame?
I'll make that motion, but I want to be a little bit more restrictive than that.
Yes,
So I make a motion that we do have a logo contest, and that the general guidelines for the committee would be the guidelines that Michelle proposed. So they're general guidelines, you don't have to go with them, but you also don't have to reinvent the wheel.
You're gonna need help, Mike.
Yeah.
I'll help you.
So,
And
yes.
I'd help too.
Yeah, so I was just gonna, piggyback off what was already suggested, bring it back at the next meeting and just kind of, we're all gonna have to we're all gonna have to agree on what.
so
the
can we
parameters
get a second to Ed's motion?
Second.
Okay,
Yeah.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Time-wise, you could probably cut time off of that, if you want to eliminate little kids, the elementary kids, where you might get a great logo, but it might not be finished enough to turn it into a thing, but you could limit it to high school students. The high school has a good program, regional has a good program,
Mhm.
so if you focused in on that group, 15 or above, it's going to cut down the amount. But that also would help you come up with a calendar, because obviously they're gone now.
Right.
And so if we set the deadline for the middle of October with a decision at the end of December, so we can announce the winner in the very first weeks of 2024, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, some of those kids like those pencil sketches.
Oh my
It's
gosh,
unbelievable.
the
Yeah,
high school art
absolutely.
department is
Yep.
unbelievable. We'll end the discussion on logo contest, but, these are all good things, and let's all keep in mind that perhaps we will have another contest down the line for a mini logo for, say, the fireworks, where we only ask the kids to do it. Let's always keep in mind that when we shut the door on something, it's not closed, it's something that another committee can use down the line.
The other thing is we probably will end up having to pay a graphic designer just to convert
Whatever.
the contest submissions anyways.
And
So
clean
we'll
it up,
move
too.
on, we are
Yeah.
at 7:32, so we have 13 minutes left and 4 items. No, 3, or 4. 7 is the signature event and timeline discussion. I imagine that's probably all we're going to get to tonight. We probably won't get to mission statement or community forum discussion, but we can try. So Ed and I had a really good discussion today about the signature event and timeline of the event. And I was hoping to have the screen to show you what we had discussed, but we can't get the screen to work. So we talked about splitting the 2025 up into 4 signature events that this committee is responsible for, 1 per season. So these would be our huge events. So what we wanted to discuss was 1 event per season. What Ed and I kind of batted around was for the January, February, March season that we're, calling winter, or I don't know what you call it. We thought that the first day suggestion was an awesome suggestion. So on January 1st, we have a huge kickoff event, first day. And we can discuss all the details of that later, but perhaps it would be downtown, or, it would look like a first day celebration. That was our thought for that. Certainly open to tons of suggestions on this. We thought the April, May, and June spring part of the year, that the parade, if we decide that one of our signature events is a parade, We discussed Flag Day. Ed had a lot of really cool history on Flag Day. We thought, it's right around, it's only like within a week of graduation. People aren't really on vacation
The
yet.
only one that says it was Donald Trump's birthday.
It is Donald Trump's
It's my
birthday.
birthday. That's
It's-
why.
Oh, there you go.
And it's my cousin's birthday.
And my mom. So it's, Trump's the odd man out, I think. So that was the thought for that. For the July, August, September category of September, we had thought perhaps we discussed perhaps not having a gala and instead having what we were terming like an old-fashioned family reunion company picnic type event. So Ed had mentioned at one of the last meetings that a clam bake used to be something that the Ames would do. So we were thinking this event would look like rolling hills, lawns, and you can buy a ticket to this event, and it can be, a highly priced ticket, and you're involved in the clam bake, or you can just come with your family, a blanket, and sandwiches. This would be open to everyone. You can buy a ticket to the catered part, or you can just come. And we were thinking that would be the signature event during that time. And
Now,
then,
let's stop there for a second,
Okay.
because bigger ideas. That would also, you'd have the clam bake and the picnic, and everybody would come at the Governor Ames Estate, and then
the fireworks.
the fireworks
Yes.
to top off the evening. That would be a super big event.
And then for October, November, and December, we were thinking our signature event would be, if we do a gala, or perhaps we pursue that village in the village that we had discussed at one of the previous meetings. So I don't know how far we're going to get tonight in making decisions on this, but those were some, I was hoping others would come with proposals for signature events, but we were thinking that 4 is probably about what this committee can handle. 1 per season is probably what this committee can handle. Now, when we take that out another step, what we also discussed was this O stands for other, and it's broken up by month. So, for example, we know that the Lions Club in May does a celebration of Easton and auction. And we are hoping to use that event as a Tricentennial event in that year. We know that the Children's Museum does a 5K in June. We're hoping to work with them.
Don't they do a beer festival too?
I think they
haven't-
do a
They
beer
haven't
fest,
done it
yes.
lately.
Oh, too bad.
I know.
Also
You
in
gotta
June,
get that one going again.
Yeah. Also in June, there's a Legacy Festival. In October, the NRT has a very popular harvest fair. In December, the Lions have a holiday festival. So we're hoping that we can also work on that. In addition to that, we are hoping to create some events where other people do the work, but we will promote or help or give ideas. For example, maybe Leandros wants to, in January, have a cocktail reception for the Tricentennial year. Or maybe Paperback Junction wants to run a book club on a book from 1725. Or maybe the gallery and co-op want to have an art show in April. So kind of, this is not, or maybe Eastern Country Club will do a Tricentennial golf day where everybody wears the old hat. But these are things that we would be helping to promote businesses, organizations, but yet we're not running these things. And then the next step out was already discussed, which was perhaps having a year-long candy, a year-long beer, and a monthly Benedict. Maybe the Beanery does a coffee in July. Perhaps, maybe we have a pizza off. There's more pizza places in Easton than any place I know, and maybe we have a taste of pizza in the middle of the summer. I don't really know what to say at this point as far as how do we make a vote? I don't even know what we're doing. Ed?
One thing, this is wonderful, and the 4 projects that we're going to do are great, and foisting stuff off on other people is also great. But it sounds pretty generic right now. I would suggest that maybe, just like we're going to try to narrow people's choices with the logo, that we have some kind of overarching theme for the 300th anniversary. And my feeling is that what's beginning to drift away from our town is a sense of community. And I would suggest community as a theme.
Okay.
And then we can go out to these other groups and say, here's the theme, it's community. And we're going to be doing this gigantic party on the lake shore. And we're going to be doing the parade, we're going to be doing this. And we want you to do things that will also help build a community.
I love it.
I think it's a great idea. We talked before about the different neighborhoods as well, sort of building community overall, but building community within your neighborhood.
And a
I have a-
friendly competition between neighborhoods.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
have a question too, and
Yes.
this is the right man for it too, which is, I would love to learn more about the actual forming, the process of what took place in 1725. I think it was recognition by the state, right?
Yeah, it was recognition by the state.
Right.
I'm not sure that they did anything other than maybe put big fires in their fireplaces because it was the winter time. No bonfires, no fireworks, but warming the house. But I can get you that information.
Yeah, I just think it'd be interesting and kind of weave into what we're doing, just to celebrating the 300th anniversary of this,
I think a theme is a great idea. I think it kind of feeds into one of the things we were going to discuss tonight, which would be our mission statement, where, now we're really gelling as a committee, and I feel it, right? Like, I feel like with a mission statement and a logo and a theme, this is really going to come together. And I love the word community, and I love the word neighbor. So, maybe when we're thinking about our logo and Mike's thinking about writing parameters to that, maybe we want the word neighbor in there, or community. Maybe when we write our mission statement, we want that in there.
It's interesting, if I can just add something to that, I couldn't agree with you more, Ed, that word community means a lot to me. I wish I could have told my father to make the last name Community instead of Clifton.
Not too late to change your name.
When we were thinking about the clock idea, I had a theme that I wrote down, time in the community, past, present, and future.
Ooh,
I was
that's
thinking of that word community. And I also, Michelle asked us all to put together what we thought would be some proposed signature events. I'd like to give you each one of these. I had more than 4 as signature events. And then I have another sheet that I'd like to give you that lists all the community events that we could possibly do by involving more people. And I think that word community somehow should be part of our overall theme, because that's what we're all about on this committee, is to bring people together in the community. And the bottom line is, there are going to be some families coming together
Thank you.
that haven't really been together, don't know their neighbors,
Right.
but this celebration should bring them all together.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if we can do it in a way where it's not beating people over the head with it, too. I don't know if it's a theme kind of thing. Sometimes you tell people you need to do this, and that, but just that subtle theme that's kind of out there of what we're doing, I think you get that many more people behind it. I think it's a fantastic idea. I love the idea of having a theme. I love the idea of being community and past,
And
present,
when you
future.
look at those sheets, folks, just keep in mind, those are just ideas that I'm suggesting from my experience. But whatever the majority wants, we certainly would go along with that. But give some thought between now and the next meeting. Some of the suggestions that I made, I took some time to think about it. I used some of my experience, and it seems to me that we may end up coming up with sponsors for all the events that we decide on.
Yes.
I think we're gonna find people are gonna get excited, just like
Yes.
Mr. Fire is getting excited about the fireworks, and they'll find something that they feel a real connection to. So by coming up with some of these ideas first in the community engagement, you're more likely to have more of those folks stepping up. So that's great.
So we only have 1 minute before adjournment. So let's see, does anybody have any questions or things they want to bring up before we adjourn?
Celtics by 6.
That's good.
That's a good report.
I think this has been our
Philly by
best meeting.
5.
We
This
will
has been our
have
best meeting yet here. I think I love the
Yeah.
energy and the ideas. I think this is great.
It feels good. It really does. It
Yep.
really is gelling. It really is.
Today I went to look at, there's a time capsule in the vault at my bank.
Yes.
So I went today to take a picture of it because it has very specific instructions. It's to be opened in January 2025
Ooh,
with the select board and the historical society.
I love
interesting.
it. See, that could happen on first day.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
As
neat.
long as I get a chance to grab my.
We were just talking about that the other
Do you have
day.
something in there?
I do.
Oh,
That's why I'm here 50 years later.
He's part of the time capsule, yes.
I think we all agree on the first day celebration. What a great way to bring in 2025.
This is the one from 50 years ago.
Nice.
And I hope that as a result of the block party, the communities, I should say neighborhoods, will eventually do that. That throughout the year.
That's a great idea.
Keep it going.
you have one?
So I think before we
I have
adjourn,
the
we should
t-shirt.
just discuss
The original t-shirt.
what we'll come back to the next meeting with. So our next meeting is June, help me.
27.
Is that an
27.
official day?
27th, right?
June, help me.
Yeah, it is. So it's not till June 27th, so we're about 6 weeks away from our next meeting. And
But that doesn't preclude, some of the subcommittees getting.
that's
together.
right, that's right. So when we do come back to the next meeting, let's plan to do a vote on 4 signature events. So do give some thought to what those might be, or if you have new ones to add, we will take them. We will discuss a mission
I've got
statement.
that at home too.
We
You
will
already have this one?
we just
Something.
discuss community
I've
forums.
got the one.
Any new business anyone wants to see on the next agenda right now?
Yeah.
Okay, so we will do our regular reports, and we will talk, we will plan to have a vote on the 4 signature events. Hopefully a vote on a mission statement, and hopefully a discussion on community forums.
Can I make one other point?
Yes.
Just for that next meeting? I think timing-wise, absolutely critical is the website component to it, because
Yes.
everything we're doing to get words out, so when the logo thing, you have it in a place where you can point people and so forth. So, getting some additional information from the town about whether there's somebody there, even though it's not going to be on the town's website, but whoever's doing that to be available to help us build and maintain this would be huge.
I can help.
So I will reach out.
Is it something, you didn't say that with a lot of enthusiasm.
And there's
work.
no
It's a lot
reason
of
why
work.
we can't have several webmasters. That's a wonderful thing,
it's-
actually.
If we use a paid site like Wix or Squarespace, it's a lot easier for somebody like me to do it.
We used Wix.
We do own
The first one.
Easton300.com.
So it's
We used
easy
Wix
enough for
first
me.
one.
I can set it up,
And same thing.
attach that,
That's right.
add
Yeah.
some
I think
search
she said
engine
that.
optimization, and add photos, and do some minor.
That'd be great, just to get the ball rolling on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
But anything more advanced than that.
Okay.
But I think
anything
it's just the
custom.
visibility of having
Yeah.
something like that, as we're doing things to feed in, will be,
And I can give them a
Important.
link.
So I will reach
So
out
it's
to
that
Mark
part's
Lamb
easy.
about the
I just did a
actual
network
town of
history
help
for
on
the
that, and
keywords.
I'm gonna reach out
Be
to
a good
Matt
starting
Joffy
point.
and John Tracy about help with that as well.
And just a reminder to everyone, make sure that you fill out the application and submit it to the town clerk's office so we can get you on the list and when the select board makes their appointments.
What's the site on that?
Give some thought to
It says it on the- it's
some
just on the
volunteers
town
out there in the
website.
community
Okay.
we'd like to see involved in the celebration. And I know that Mike Good, you've got a big responsibility.
Yep.
Don't be afraid to yell for some help.
Definitely.
I will, I'll let you know.
All right.
A motion to adjourn.
So moved.
second.
Got a motion, a second, first and second. The meeting is adjourned.
Oh, no vote on that one, huh?
All those in favor?
Yay!
All those opposed? Nobody. Wrap.